evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Robe Podcast. My name is Anzhane Slaughter, and I'm sitting here with the lovely Carol Mitchell. How you doing?
Hello. It's just been such a wild week.
It's been a wild week, and for those who are tuning in maybe for the first time, I just really quickly want to remind everyone that's watching, we call this the Black Robe Podcast for a reason. That reason is so that the community can sit in a position of power as if we were the judges and the jury, right? So our voices really hurt, they hold that weight here on this podcast. So today we're talking about some tough topics. Once again, it's gonna be a tough podcast. Some people might not like to hear what we have to say, honestly, because it's personal. It's personal. But that's what we're here to do, Carol. So how have you been feeling this week?
Oh my goodness. One of the things that we are doing this week is meeting with our advisory committee in a few days to scope our next year because there's so much to do.
Yep.
And there's so much content when it comes down to justice for Black folk. There's no shortage of content.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I just wish our own city was not making the national news with its drive-through policing.
Seriously. Did you guys see the video? The police officer on January 23rd, the Monday of this week, drive through a crowd of young people of color. They looked like they were Black or had some color. But my thing is, this police officer was not at threat. These people that he drove through, as we want to say, they weren't armed and pointing any weapons. He's in the motor vehicle. Are you telling me you cannot de-escalate the situation from inside your motor vehicle where you have a wealth of resources like a walkie or whatever you use to badge your department? Mm-hmm. There's nothing that you could have done. Not to say that Black people like the police, because I don't, right? Honestly, because it's an overgrown distrust. But I would prefer you to do your job and de-escalate, call for backup, than to run us over in the streets. This is a modern day being hosed down by the police in the 60s.
Look out now.
Come on now.
Bull Connor and his dogs, girl. That's what. Bull Connor in Alabama and his dogs.
Exactly. And then, of course, the underlying question, we are all thinking, oh, well, if that was a sea of preppy white kids, would he have ran them over? I think that's something.
It's a valid question. So all of this went down on Saturday, the 23rd. We started to see some of the videos coming out Sunday night and Monday, the 25th. And apparently it all started with a street racing event, which is illegal. But here's what I want to know, Anjanae. Mm-hmm. If you got 42,000 cars gathering at 9th and Pacific Avenue, aren't you going to notice that and start to wonder, all these cars are showing up in this part of town. Could there be a street racing event about to happen? Maybe we need to put some barriers in the street to prevent them from doing their, whatever they call it, reckless driving in these city streets. Because it's not as if you didn't know that all of these folks were starting to gather. There were crowds of people, and they looked pretty diverse to me, but it just so happens that one of the people who got ran over was a brother. And
why do you say it like that?
I'm sorry, I
don't mean to laugh, but
because the crowd did not look like it was a Black Lives Matters crowd to me. It looked like a very diverse, mostly white crowd.
Well, I'm saying that was gathering around the car. That was on the car.
Yeah, the videos that you saw on Twitter and on Facebook, the hands I saw on the car didn't look like
Where,
mine. They weren't brown skinned hands. So
okay, well, excuse me.
I was surprised when I saw the brother, who actually got hurt. His name is Tavon Williams. By the way, he has a Cash App and a Venmo because he did have some medical bills. I mean,
Yes.
when you get hit by a car, there
Oh,
may
it
be
was more than
physical injuries, but
he the one
psychologically,
that actually the car's wheels rotated over a body. Was that him?
I don't know. No, I don't think it was
Because
him, but he got
this
hit and
this
knocked
video was
down. And I think
pretty graphic. I mean, the back and the front wheels went over this
oh,
person.
yeah, that person got run over, but they're both out of the hospital. Miraculously, no one was killed, right? So
Yeah, thank God.
the
That
sad
police
part,
officer did not care, honestly.
the sad part to me,
Mm-hmm.
the city of Tacoma just implemented the body cams. Why didn't this person have a body camera? The officer driving the SUV did not have a body camera. They're phasing in, different groups of officers are getting or
What do
having
you
to
mean
turn them
different?
on at different times. They didn't
What?
all, that's what they're doing.
Why you need to phase this process? Why can't we have an all staff meeting? Okay, this is how you operate the body cam. Boom, boom, boom. We'll have one for every shift. I mean, come on now. Do we got to go back to
We got to
basic?
go back. Yeah, we got to go back to the training center and learn how to use the body cam.
We should have the Target managers come over and teach the police department how to run an all staff meeting. That's what we should have because that is ridiculous. That is crazy. And you made a point earlier. The street racing is illegal, right? And we know that this is going to be a counter narrative that, of course.
Oh, it already is. The city council is already focusing on that narrative and trying to put together a joint statement against street racing. They did that at their special meeting last night. It's like, wait a minute. And kudos to Councilmember Blocker, who said in his very quiet way, I'm very upset that we have spent 45 minutes talking about street racing. This is not about street racing. This is about drive-through policing, folks.
Yes, right.
You drove your car through a crowd of people, and it wasn't just 10 miles an hour creeping forward gently. You could hear the engine revving up, which means he accelerated through this group of people. Now, the law and order folks say you got what you paid for. You had no business down there. It was illegal for you to be there. And so if you got run over, it ain't our problem. Don't blame the police for doing their job because you had no business down there. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it.
The police? What? First of all, isn't your purpose to de-escalate violence and crime? And why are you over here running people over? That sounds like somebody that should get arrested for. What is the charge? If that person would have vehicular assault.
And he's fortunate nobody died.
Because that would have been vehicular manslaughter, right?
But he feared for his life. So here's what I want to know. You are inside basically an armored car because those SUVs they have are decked out, right?
Yeah, they have to be.
You got 2-3 guns in your pocket. The people who are your threat have their hands. Nobody had a gun that I saw in any video. Nobody had a bat. Nobody had a brick. Nobody broke the windows out of the car. Where does the fear for your life come from that justifies deadly force? It was unreasonable.
Why couldn't you have called for backup? Why couldn't you have?
He did after he revved through and did his drive-through policing. He did go down the street and call. But I want to know, why did you send one guy in there like that? If you've got 1,800 cars or however many it is, why would you send? How does an officer end up in a situation where he's completely surrounded. He feels threatened. Let's just say he really did feel threatened. We'll give him that. How'd you end up in that situation? Is don't you
Why
learn
did
at
you
the
feel threatened?
academy? Don't get yourself into that situation. This is almost a 30-year veteran. This is not a new police officer.
Yeah, yeah.
He's experienced. So the
Why do you feel threatened?
protocols, the standard operating procedures for how you disperse a crowd and how you position yourself in your vehicle in a crowd, surely they don't tell you drive your car through the crowd and run people over.
No. You know, Carol, this is why we so desperately need community policing. We need
Mhm.
we need a trusted force within our community that will de-escalate situations, that will talk through and say, "Hey, this is actually becoming a hazard." Because the police department, they know of these street races. They've been going on. I mean,
For years.
regularly, right? So don't act all naive and pretend like you didn't know that this was happening, right? You want to turn the narrative around and say, oh, you shouldn't have been down there. No. And let's be honest. If we had someone that the community that could step out of his car and not feel threatened because he's actually connected with his community,
Mm-hmm.
could actually de-escalate because, hey, we got traffic, you guys, maybe we can work out something else, another place for you guys to do this, right? But this isn't gonna work out right here. Actually reason with people. You're never gonna get more with with violence, with running people over. Now you have this
Yeah.
whole, you
And
know
nobody cam to capture what he saw. I mean, and out of fairness, what he saw and how he felt, who knows, whether that was legitimate or not, or whether it was reasonable. But if you had had a body camera on that was picking up what you saw and what you were hearing, then maybe people could
Mhm.
kind of understand,
Exactly.
okay, he had a
And this
valid
is
point.
exactly, and this is how you can see body cams protect the officer
They do.
and the people. But
Yes, they do.
why are we phasing in body cams when they can add protection to us? If you were really at fear, like you say, well then it would be shown on the camera. Maybe there, I don't know, an angle that we did miss. But
Right.
you know,
But listen,
what
even
wait.
if you didn't have body cams,
Mm-hmm.
some of those businesses, I mean, they were on Ninth and Pacific. It's full of
Yeah.
little small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had cameras. Get that footage, send that to the PC Fit,
Mm-hmm.
because Tacoma turned the investigation over to the Pierce County Force Investigation Team. They call it PC Fit. And Puyallup is in the lead, one of the the lead investigators from Puyallup.
And we
And
know how diverse Puyallup is. So,
well,
hey.
they're treating it as a deadly force incident because guess what? Somebody, in the comments, I love reading the comments. It's from my old
You,
PR days, and
yeah.
read the comments because those are funnier than the actual content of the articles.
Uh-huh.
Somebody in the comments said, "Well, why are you treating it as deadly force? You're driving like a 3,000-pound
Yeah.
machine.
Someone
It's
could have died.
Are you kidding
So,
me? You don't know
yeah.
why a car is deadly force? You're
Give me
driving a
the
car,
definition of deadly force.
car,
That
human
was my
body,
first.
car, human body. Which one of those do you think is going to win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But some of the activists are calling for a completely independent investigation because, listen, here's how it really works. PC Fit is made up of all of the different jurisdictions in Pierce County: criminal investigators, forensic investigators, folks who know
Mm-hmm.
policing, who are police officers, who know what to look for, how to document things. But they're all on the SWAT teams together, they're on the task forces
Yep.
together. Some of them are married to each other, they just work in different departments,
Yep.
so it's almost incestuous. Trying to get an independent investigation is almost impossible because somebody in Puyallup has a friend in Tacoma and another one in Lakewood and another one in Pierce County. It's very difficult to get a clean, completely independent investigation. And the people who are from the community, they don't really get to even see anything until the investigation's done. So what's the point? The city council had a special meeting on the 25th, on Monday. They had a special meeting, which was nice of them. They had a very nice PowerPoint.
Is that right?
But what really irritated most of the people who commented, and I felt this way too, two things really irritated me personally. One, when our city manager said, I stand united with the chief. First of all, you don't even know what the facts have to say about what happened. How are you going to stand united when you don't even have the facts yet? That tells me that your mindset is already aligned on the policing side of the house. And that makes sense because you were a city attorney before you were city manager. Basically, you're the city prosecutor. I get it. You are aligned pretty closely with police. And you just put your boy in as interim and you don't want him to fail because if he fails, you fail because he was your choice. Stand united. Never mind the human aspects of all of this for the people who were run over, sent to the hospital, saw that happen, people standing there watching somebody run over.
People don't care unless it directly impacts them. If it were to be your relative or someone that was near and dear to your heart that was ran over, I bet you wouldn't be unified with the chief then. You'd be wanting some justice then. Okay? Like, it's so disappointing. We try so hard to fight for independent investigations because even that was a fight. And then
all I'm asking is don't align yourself. We stand united. Don't come out strong like that and then tell me that you're trying to heal and transform. Healing and transformation suggests that you're more concerned about the people side of policing. We talked about this, right? It's all about risk management and preventing claims. You never want to come out there and say anything that's going to cause you to pay money. I get it.
Well, look, she's already maybe did that. Okay, you come out too strong. You don't have enough. I mean, it's just you're not sincere. Are you for the people? Doesn't she need to be reelected into her position too?
Well, she is appointed by the mayor. And so if the mayor thinks that she's doing a good job, she'll continue to be in that role. But I'm just saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself. Don't come out with a statement like that, all strong, and we don't even have the facts yet. Second thing that really irritated people, me too, is you spent 45 to 50 minutes of an hour and a half meeting talking about street racing. And look, we have a car theft problem in this whole county. We have a street racing problem. We have a methamphetamine problem. Yes, we have major issues. We have a fentanyl problem. Don't sit here telling me that was the reason why you met yesterday. That's not why you met. You met because your officer did a drive-through policing maneuver. Because if that had not happened, this would have never made the national news. Nobody would have cared about the street racing if you hadn't rolled over a couple people in the street. So let's focus the conversation around that piece. One of the big issues they brought out is they can't get any information. Once it's handed over to the FIT team, the Pierce County FIT team, Force Investigative Team, it a seal of confidentiality goes around it. Huh, sort of.
Right.
There's ways of knowing what's going on.
Yep. So it's sealed to who? To the local.
Everybody until it's finished. The city council was irritated because interim chief Aki couldn't really give them details because he's not in control of that investigation. Back in the day, pre I-940, police departments, their internal affairs, they would do their own internal investigations of their own officers. Well, you see the problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now it goes to this independent investigative team. And remember what I said about how incestuous that crowd is. Not to mention the fact that I had a certain former sheriff tell me that having people from quote Bonnie Lake or Sumner trying to investigate some case that had come out of Tacoma or Pierce County was like asking a fourth grader to take a college exam. That's what he told me, girl. He had no, he basically said Pierce
Yeah.
County Fit is not fit to do the investigations because most of them never even see a murder, right? Because they're in these little small towns, right?
Well, I mean, based on the acts of this 30-year employee of the department, neither do we. Okay? I mean, I just wonder. I just wonder if there's any retraining. After these new laws go out, and we're fighting so hard to get legislation passed, right? To ban chokeholds and no knock warrants and stuff. Are they gonna go and retrain, or are these these senior veteran police officers? Because as we know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay? Are
There is a law that this is specific to crisis intervention and de-escalation, but you only have to have 8 hours worth of training. Now think about it. You've been doing something a certain way for 30 years.
yeah.
This particular officer, almost 30 years, you've been programmed, you're in the habit, it's all reinforced. And then all of a sudden the law changes and you get sent to a class that says, now you're going to sit in this classroom for 8 hours. And when you come out, you better change everything you've been doing for 30 years. Hey, no, that's not going to happen.
They're not even paying attention to 8 hours.
I think some people may want to make those changes and do see the benefit. I have friends and former coworkers in the sheriff's department. Some of them do get it. They do see the need for reform and transformation, but it still takes time for them to change the way they do things. And frankly, some of them need to just go ahead on and retire because they can't make the shift.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't undo.
They can't do it.
Years. I mean, yeah. Well, I know that this episode for the viewers, like, I know I've been kind of hard. And I gave you
some feedback.
I gave him the warning, but I just want to throw this out there that this is all just a byproduct of the countless incidents that we have had to face in our community. I've had close loved ones. I've witnessed and even experienced injustice within our criminal justice system and within our police department. It's I wasn't born thinking this way. In fact, as a kid, you actually like it when the police officers come by with the little badges. Shout out to Officer Cookie in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves Officer Cookie. And I even remember in elementary and maybe a little bit of middle school where the police officers would come to our schools. They would build relationships with us. And, I didn't feel this way then, right? So I just kind of just want to throw that out there. We need our law enforcement. I do not want to live in a place that there is no law enforcement. I am a homeowner. I am a
Right.
black woman. I am, just, I mean, anybody is at risk without any sort of law and order. So it is essential that we have a police department. We just need one that protects all. We need one that de-escalates situations. We need one that actually engages and connects with the community so that you don't feel at fear. You know, the I just it brings me back to the insurrection with the Capitol Hill security. That one man, he
Mm-hmm.
could argue that he was in fear of his life, and he could have just ran and just, you know, what is it, fight or flight? He could have
Right.
just fight, and because he was in fear. I don't know if he had 30 years of experience or whatever, but he still managed to do his job. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're in an armored vehicle basically, and you're around unarmed people, and you're a police officer.
Not I mean, people might have been packing, but you didn't see a gun. All you saw were hands slapping the hood of the car and surrounding the car.
Yeah.
Now, maybe he thought they were going to somehow
Flip the car over.
flip the car, pull the door open, pull him out. You know, I'm going to give him credit and just give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was afraid. So for me, you should have had a body camera. Number two, you shouldn't have went in there by yourself. And number three, driving over another human being is not reasonable behavior unless you yourself are in fear of death, not just afraid. I'm afraid for my life, but deadly force is being used. Somebody's shooting at you. You know, they got a brick coming through the front window. I would probably be in a very different place.
Yeah.
But listen, drifting maneuvers. I want to give a little bit of airtime to the people who say it was dangerous for them to folks to be down there in the first place. It was very disruptive to that neighborhood, the people who lived there, the businesses. We had some folks who came from outside of Tacoma, you know, and did their thing. They broke windows, did some damage. Of course, our new sheriff tried to make up a big story about how much damage was done, but the facilities person had already said it was only about $50,000 worth of damage. Then our new sheriff tried to come and say, "Oh, it's all this damage," because he's trying to get money. They broke the windows out near the sheriff's department in the building I used to work in. They broke the windows out in the 911 dispatch center. The SWAT team was down there during the demonstrations the next night, right? So you had the event the 23rd, folks got run over. Then the 24th, there was a protest, a lot of outside folks, some property damage that happened. And guess what? They arrested a peaceful protester, our own Jameika Scott. And she was sitting on the ground recording the whole thing. And before you know it, 15 or so, a large crowd at least, of police officers were escorting her to the Pierce County Jail for peacefully
Why is
protesting
he 15?
because she's a sister girl.
Right. Well, you know, it's all a numbers thing. Because I bet that officer was so scared because he was 1 against 20, right? But then you turn that around and then you use 20 against 1.
And guess what? They had body cameras for her.
Oh, I bet.
Funny, that group had a body camera on so you could see how they were handling her arrest. Where was the body camera when your officer drove through a crowd of people? Why'd you have body cameras for
Yeah.
Jameika Scott, but no body cameras for your officer?
Well, they knew that this was the following night that maybe some things were going to be going down. So, of course, but it's all
Well,
it's It's
We
so
think,
much work to be done.
the Twitter feed says that maybe she was targeted because she's an activist and has been very outspoken about the Manny Ellis case and critical of use of force, and rightfully so. And there's some suggestion that they targeted her and another activist. His name is Haiku. And girl, they had me going to Twitch and
I
yeah,
love
because he's
it. I
got this
love it.
thing called haiku poetics. And I went to Twitch and of course Twitter, and you would have been proud of me.
I am
TikTok.
proud of you. I am proud of you. Yes.
I didn't even know those things existed until this weekend. Thanks to the drive-through policing, I now know what Twitch is.
I don't even know what Twitch is. What is Twitch?
Twitch TV.
Oh,
Apparently, it's some sort of a streaming service.
okay.
Yeah, go on up there and check it out because you may want to put a video up there at some point.
Right, exactly. I might. Well, guys, we're gonna have to wrap up this very serious conversation. I hope that we see some progress. I mean, I always want to end on an optimistic note, right? Because we can't continue to live like this. I mean, first, I have faith in God. Okay,
Mhm.
I
Good.
have faith in God, and when you have faith in God, that's why we continue to come out on these platforms and speak our truths. Because we know He's gonna turn it around. We're doing what we got to do. Carol, we're applying pressure. This is building and continuing that momentum. And the police, you guys don't understand that the police officers, you guys are feeding our movement.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
guys
what
are
I said.
literally, you
There's
guys
no.
hate the Black Lives Matter movement, or you hate the police accountability movement. You are giving us content, stuff
Mhm.
to talk about. So keep it up. No, don't keep it up. But as long as you do, we will be reporting right here on the Black Robe podcast.
Yeah, we're going to give the Black perspective on it. And I'll give some shout out as we close to the Community Police Advisory Commission. They had their meeting following the special meeting where half the meeting was talking about street racing until council member Blocker called them out on it. Um, but that group was very emotional, very passionate about the body cameras, the fact that those have been so slow in being implemented. We need to get that done. Everybody's body camera should be on. Forget the phasing. Just tell them all, get your body camera on, like it or not. Get the public information piece done. Tanisha Jumper, their communications and media director, laid it out how you can request the video from the body cams. It's on a body cam website that they have for the city. Get busy with the healing and transformation work. I've heard really very little since they formed the committee. I haven't heard very much about what progress they're making, but these kinds of incidents are going to set you back. As some of the Twitter feed said, how do you expect us to engage in transformation when you're running over us with your
You're running us
vehicles?
over. Mm-hmm.
It's like you got to transform inside first. And I think maybe that's the point. You got work to do on
Yeah.
the culture of your internal staff. Then maybe you can expect the community to believe you and trust you when you say you're ready
Trust.
to
Yeah.
heal and transform the whole community.
Yeah.
But I want you to stay focused. We have a big event coming up
Oh,
in
yes.
June.
Yes,
June
we
28,
do.
29, 30, and pretty soon there's going to start seeing some ads about that on social media. We want 30 brilliant, young, social justice minded young people to join us for 3 days, and we're going to pay them, right?
Yes,
A
we
stipend for those 3 days to come help us solve social justice challenges just like this one.
absolutely. And you do not have to be enrolled in college. You just
Nope.
have to be between 18 and 35. I don't care if you're more of a creative and you love fashion and design. We still want you there. If you are, into politics and into the social justice, we still want you there. We want engineers. Basically, the point is this impacts all of us.
Right.
And we all need to come together and put our minds together and come up with some prototypes and some designs, some solutions, right?
Definitely. And let's try implementing some things, because honestly, what's been done by us old folks ain't working.
Right.
That's why we want the 18 to 35-year-olds to come put their brilliance and their innovative thinking, their TikTok and their Twitch and their Snapchat thinking. We want that kind of creativity to take a look at some of these issues like police accountability and use of force and tell us what you think really needs to be done. Let's capture that in a very creative way and see if you all can come up with a better solution than the folks over 50 seem to be able to come up with. They haven't figured it out. They're running things. We are running things, but we're running it into the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
That reminds me. Better help us out.
we got your back. Okay. We're going to help you guys out. Yeah. On that note, you guys stay tuned for all the promo and more to come for our Leadership Freedom Symposium this June 28th, 9th, and 30th. All righty, Carol, any last words?
Just keep the faith. Stay out of drive-through policing situations.
Let's not blame the individual. The police need to stop running us over.
Amen.
Right?
And we will post Tavon Williams' Venmo and Cash App information on our page. All right? Because we want to help make sure he gets well.
Yes.
All right, my dear.
See you guys next episode, which will be our 1st of February.
Black History Month.
Yes.
All right, my dear. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.